You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Thank you for subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. South Carolina Gamecocks are a very interesting team. They've had some really nice games. They've had some high highs. That beat down of Kentucky in Lexington ranks as one of their top moments of the season. They also played Alabama and LSU to 5 points combined losses. They lost to Alabama by 2 just this past weekend and lost to LSU by 3 a few weeks back. This is a South Carolina team that scored as many as they scored 33 against LSU, scored 25 on Alabama. They lost to Old Dominion to open the season. They, again, scored 31 against a really good Kentucky defense, scored 50 on Akron, but then only scored 3 against Ole Miss at home. So this is it's been an up and down season for Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks. It's hard to know exactly what you're going to get out of them, but one thing that you do know you're going to get out of them is pass rush productivity. Between Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart, those two are game wreckers. Kennard in particular, he's got 7.5 sacks. He has like 30 something total pressures, or 23 total pressures, I think it was actually. Just a really, really, really good pass rusher. Dylan Stewart, the true freshman, he had a really, really nice first game of the season. Hasn't been able to have as much sack productivity as the season's gone along, but he is a good player that will create fits for Oklahoma's offensive line. Both of those guys are going to be problems for Oklahoma's offensive line. Defensively, Nick Harbor is a really good player. He's got big speed, good size outside. This is a team that they move the ball around. They get it to a lot of different people, a lot of different players. LaNorris Sellers, he's a good dual threat quarterback. He's ran for 219 yards this season. Again, that takes sack yardage out of the equation. But he's looking right now as a passer somewhat similar to Michael Hawkins, just averaging 6.8 yards per attempt. He's thrown 4 interceptions, 4 touchdowns. He's ran for 3. He's only completing 62.1% of his passes. You look at a guy like Michael Hawkins, and he's right there too. He's completing just 62% of his passes. His average yards per attempt, 6.8. But he's only thrown the 1 touchdown. They're both just kind of playing solid, not great football, but okay football. LaNorris Sellers has more experience at this point, but did battle a bit of an injury earlier this season. So statistically, what do they look like? All right. So OU point per game differential, it's just minus 5.3. Okay. South Carolina minus 7.2. So the offense is scoring on average 7 more points than the defense. Oklahoma's offense on average is only scoring 5 more points than the defense is allowing. Turnover differential, Oklahoma is sitting at 1.1 plus. On the plus side of that, meaning the defense is getting more turnovers than the offense is giving up. South Carolina is even. So their turnover differential is 0. So that means they're turning the ball over as much as they're creating turnovers. So that actually could potentially benefit Oklahoma. If they can protect the ball, potentially win the turnover battle, that could help them potentially get a win in this game. South Carolina is doing a little bit better in the yardage standpoint. Their offense is creating on average 62.8 yards more than the defense is allowing. Oklahoma's offense on average is not creating as much offense as the defense is allowing. So Oklahoma's yardage total, they're averaging just, where was it? 287 total yards per game, which is not good. The defense is allowing 337 total yards per game, which is solid. Like that is actually fairly okay. But the offense only creating 287 total yards of offense. That's terrible. That's just absolutely terrible. In SP plus rating, this is just kind of they use projections and also what we've seen statistically and analytics and all that to break it down. Oklahoma overall is number 26 in the SP plus rating. South Carolina 34. The offense for Oklahoma is sitting at 59th, the defense number 12, and the special teams, actually pretty encouraging special teams unit, sitting at 31st. That's a big deal. Oklahoma coming into the season, right? They were one of the worst special teams units in the country last year. And we talked about how much they needed to improve on special teams. Credit to Doug Deacon. He's come in and he has significantly turned around this special teams unit, and they've needed him to, because especially as the offense has faltered, you need to be able to win on special teams to have a chance. South Carolina, the 34 overall in SP plus, 57th offensively. So just a touch better than Oklahoma, 24th defensively. Again, just a little bit behind Oklahoma, and then 74th on special teams. That's an area where Oklahoma has a chance to win. Shane Beamer has been really, really aggressive on special teams, playing some Beamer ball. It hasn't necessarily worked out in his favor most weeks. So that's going to be something to monitor and watch this week, is how aggressive does he get on the road on special teams against a good, Oklahoma defense. You know that Brent Venables is going to have, and Doug Deacon will have that team prepared for some fakes, for some different calls that they try to pull out to see if they can steal an extra possession. But that's going to be an interesting battle to watch on the special team side. Pro Football Focus, Oklahoma offensively just 128th out of 134, defensively number 12, special teams number 28. South Carolina ranks better in everything but special teams. Number 105 offensively, number 9 defensively, number 31 on special teams. On paper, look, it looks like South Carolina offensively is a better team. Defensively, they're about even. And on special teams, Oklahoma is likely the better team, but you never know how a game could go. A missed field goal here, a fumble on a kick return or a punt return there, and it can turn the tide of the special teams battle. If South Carolina does go for a fake and they're able to convert, that could really shift the momentum of a game. So much of this is going to, again, come back to execution, how much Oklahoma improves offensively, because, again, a tough matchup for Oklahoma's offensive line against South Carolina's defensive line and their secondary. South Carolina's secondary is pretty good. They're physical. They play tough. They held Ryan Williams to just 2 catches, held Jalen Milroe to just over 200 yards passing this past week against Alabama. So, for Oklahoma's young, inexperienced wide receiver group, it's a tough matchup, man. Somebody's going to have to rise to the occasion. Like this, we talked about it last week. Somebody needed to have an I'm him game, and nobody really did. Zion Kearney was arguably your best wide receiver with 4 catches for 45 yards. He needs to build on that. And the offense needs to get aggressive, and Michael Hawkins needs to throw the ball. He has to. So much of it we've discussed this week that, yes, the offensive play calling can help him get into a rhythm a little bit better, get him more comfortable in the passing game. But when things are there, he's got to throw the ball. You can't second guess it. You can't, pump fake it. You can't double pump it. You can't, hitch it. You got to throw. You got to throw with anticipation. You got to throw on time, and you got to take advantage of it when the play call is there and the wide receiver is open and ready to receive a pass. You got to throw it, because if you don't, you're not going to have 4 or 5 seconds with the South Carolina pass rush to get rid of the ball. And I imagine they're going to come into this game with a similar plan to spy Michael Hawkins, just like Texas did, not let him have any scramble lanes. They'll rush with discipline, try to keep him inside the pocket, and make him uncomfortable from there. So Hawkins is going to have to get comfortable, man. You're going to have to get comfortable in the pocket. You have to throw with anticipation and throw on time. Can he? We'll see. We'll give you our keys to the game. We'll give you our expectations and predictions for this big time game. Oklahoma's got to win this one. You don't have many games on the schedule where you're looking at it like Oklahoma's got this. They can win this. So you gotta find a way, man. You gotta find a way. So we'll discuss more of that for our Friday show. The Oklahoma SEC really released their injury report. What does it mean for the Oklahoma Sooners coming up next? We'll discuss any further news and notes around Oklahoma football as well coming up here after the break.